The first one is the change in Excel's calculation engine, which allows us to input one formula and get many results. This is something new because earlier, before 2019, we could only enter one formula and get one result. That is the answer in the formula cell. But now we can enter a single formula and get multiple results. That is something that is new in Excel 2019. And that is the concept of spilled arrays. So let's see how that works in our Excel file. I haven't shared the Excel file as I mentioned. I will be sharing the Excel file notes and the certificate towards the end of today's session. Okay, so after the Q&A round, wait for it. For now, just have a look at my screen. And if my screen is not visible to you all clearly, make sure you switch to 720p on your laptop or your phone. All right. So here I have some data. I have data for 3 columns. I have the department, which is electronics, clothing, and toys. I have the Indian states for each department and the revenue for that state of that department. This is basically the data that I'm going to deal with. Now, in this cell, if I say is equal to this cell and hit on enter, what do you think will happen here? What is the result that I will get here? Let's hit enter and see what we get here. We get the value of whatever is there in that particular cell reference, right? So we get electronics. We entered a single formula and we got a single result. That is completely normal. That is something that used to happen in Excel 2016 and the older versions as well. But now, what if instead of only referring to a single cell, I give it a bunch of cells? So instead of having only one cell, what if I tell it to refer to the entire data that I have here? What would happen then? In Excel 2016 or lower versions, this would return an error because it is not possible to have a single formula giving multiple results. And here we are having multiple results, right? We are having multiple values to display here. That is something that wasn't possible earlier. But when it comes to Excel 2019, in Excel 2019, if you hit enter, notice what happens here. Now we get the option of spilling our data. So we do not get an error. The answer simply spills to the cells around my formula cell. So I have written the formula in this particular cell, but I'm getting the answers in different cells, as you can see. This is the concept of spilled array. As the name tells you, it is a spill that is happening. The answers are spilling to the other cells, and array is just a fancy word for range. So it is the spilling of my range of data. Here we need to take care of 4 things. We need to note 4 things here. First, that the formula is only editable in the first cell. So here where I have actually written the formula, if you look at my formula bar, I have the formula which is editable. So I can go ahead and edit the formula from here. But if I go to any other cell in my spilled array, notice how the formula bar is grayed out. I cannot edit my formula in any of the other cells. It is only allowed to edit in the first cell. So if I try to edit the formula here and instead let's say I type in 1, 2, 3 and hit enter, my formula will go away. It will simply give me an error. All right. So that is the first thing to note, which is that the formula is editable only in the first cell where we actually wrote the formula which resulted in our spilled range. All right. Second, blue border helps you see till what cell has the formula been spilled. So you notice this blue border around our spilled array. This helps you understand the extent of the spill. All right. This helps you understand the extent of your spilled array, right? So notice how the blue border is telling you what data is spilled here. So even if you have data around the spilled range, you know what is being spilled by using this formula. This blue border serves as a guide to you. Third, you do not copy the formatting of your data. So notice how in my original data, my source data, in the revenue column, I have a comma separator. So after the 1000, I have a comma here, right? This is a 1000 separator. But when I refer to it, I do not have a comma here. Notice how I have no commas here. So the formatting is not getting copied. We are simply referring to the data. the formatting is not getting copied in our reference, right? Just a sec. Guys, if y'all have a problem with the screen not being clear, this is the best that I can zoom into. I'm already zooming into 120%. Choose a laptop or switch to 720p. That's the best option. I cannot zoom in further, right? Because I have data to show here, which will not fit if I zoom in further, right? So please understand, do not, just please join in via laptop. That's what I mentioned earlier in the WhatsApp groups as well. All right. So coming to the third point, as I mentioned, you do not copy the formatting of your data. You can only copy the data, not the formatting. So if I wanted to have 1,000 separator here, I will have to manually go and then add 1,000 separator from here, right? So that is the third point. And the fourth point is, if you have something blocking the spill, you will get the hashtag spill error, right? So for example, if I did not have this formula, and let's say I have some texture, let's say I call this Excel, okay? And now if I try to do the same thing, which is refer to my entire data and hit enter, right? See what happens here. We get the hashtag spill error. This hashtag spill error, if you go to this cell, will show you that the formula is trying to get spilled till this particular level. But because we have something blocking the spill, which is this particular cell, it cannot get spilled and we will get the hashtag spill error. So what I need to do is first clear that area. Make sure nothing is there in that area. So I will delete this and now automatically my formula will get spilled. All right. So this is one thing that you also need to keep in mind. Four things. First, formula editable only in the first cell. Second, the blue border tells you the extent of the spill. Third, formatting is not going to get copied. And fourth, if you have something blocking the spill, you will get the hashtag spill error. All right. Similarly, let's look at how the spilled array would work if we had a table of data. Now in Excel, you are having something called as an official Excel table. Looking at this data, it might look like a table to you, but it is not actually a table. In Excel, you need to convert your data into a table by pressing the shortcut Control plus T. T stands for table, right? So you press Control plus T being inside your data. I'll press Control plus T, click on OK to create a table, and now your data is converted into a table, right? So you have your normal data, you have your table data. Here we dealt with normal data, and this is what we got. Now let's look at an example where we would have a table of data. So here, if you notice at the top, I have something called as table tools, right? So here we have table tools, which tells you that this is an official Excel table. It has been converted into a table. Now, if I try to do the same thing, I go to the cell and say is equal to all these cells and hit enter. There's no difference. Again, here we get the entire data getting spilled into the cells surrounding it. All right. So in a table, the spilled array also works. This is extremely simple. But a very big but here, which is if you have a table, there is a big advantage given to you. The advantage to using an Excel table as the source data is that the spilled array automatically expands as new data rows are added to the table. So if I add anything at the bottom of the table, it will automatically become a part of my spilled array. For example, if I go here and type A, B, and C, let's do that and see here. Notice how even in my spilled reference, even in this particular reference, I'm getting A, B, C. So my reference is updated. Let me go to the cell. Notice how my reference is updated to have A, B, and C here. That is not the case if you do not have a table. So if I did it in this particular case, if I did A, B, and C here, notice how it is not getting displayed here in my reference, right? So that is the benefit of a table. Anything that you add at the bottom automatically becomes a part of your table and automatically also becomes a part of any reference that you make based on that table. So that is a benefit when it comes to a table. Now, let's look at how we can refer to a spilled array range. All right. How can we refer to a spilled array range? Till this point, we were referring to a table or just a bunch of cells, right? A bunch of cells here or a table. Now let's look at how we can refer to the spilled array given here. So if I want to refer to the spilled array instead of my source data, the way is very simple. It's an easy thing to do. You simply say is equal to, select the first cell where you actually have the formula written. This is the first cell where we actually wrote the formula. And to select the entire data, the entire spilled array, simply add a hashtag at the end. So notice how I'm having is equal to G28 and a hashtag at the end. The hashtag is basically a short code to tell Excel to select everything that is there in the spilled array. What is the benefit of this hashtag? The benefit is that if the table expands, our spilled array will also expand. And because we are referring to the entire spilled array using the hashtag, our spilled array reference will automatically expand as well. Let's take an example here. I will say is equal to G28 hashtag and hit enter. I have this here. Now let's say I add another row here. Let's say 1, 2, 3. So I say 1, 2, and 3. Notice how my table expanded to have 1, 2, 3 here. Because we are referring to a table, even my dynamic spilled array had 1, 2, 3 here. And because we used the hashtag here is equal to G28 hashtag, it automatically expanded to include 1, 2, 3 here as well, right? So this is basically how you can refer to a spilled array. You simply do is equal to the first cell and then add a hashtag which will simply select the entire spilled array. In the future, if it expands or contracts, even our reference will expand or contract. All right. To summarize on what we have learned on this worksheet, we have 4 different points. First, formula editable only in the first cell when it comes to a spilled array. Second, blue border helps you see the extent of the spill. Third, formatting will not get copied. Fourth, if you have something blocking the spill, you will get the hashtag spill error. If you want to remove the spill error, simply remove the blockage. All right. When it comes to a table, if the table expands, your data will also expand, the reference will also expand. And if you're referring to a spilled array, simply use hashtag at the end and it will automatically expand or contract if your spilled reference also expands or contracts. All right. So before I move on to the next worksheet, quickly tell me, guys, is everything clear on this worksheet? Type in a yes in the chat if everything is clear. All right, perfect. I see a lot of yeses coming in. So with that, we move on to the next worksheet. And here we start off with our formulas. So using the concept of spilled arrays, there were 7 new functions or formulas that were introduced in Excel, which were referred to as dynamic array functions. It affected not just the advanced users, but actually all the users of Excel. All right. And how do we use all these formulas? Where is the concept of spilled arrays applied? All of this I'll be coming to that. All right. The webinar is of 2 hours. Don't expect to learn 15 things in the first 2 minutes. All right. So stay till the end. We have a lot more to cover. All right. So let's go back to our worksheet. Here we have the new XLOOKUP formula. And I would say this is one of the most requested formulas when it came to the request list, when it came to Excel, right? So XLOOKUP is basically an upgrade over your traditional VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP formula. All right. This is an upgrade over VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Once you learn how to use XLOOKUP, you will not require VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. XLOOKUP solves the problems or the limitations of V and HLOOKUP and also has multiple more advantages as compared to the traditional formulas. Remember how VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP had a limitation that it could not look to the left hand side of your data, right? It could not look to the left hand side of your data. But when it comes to XLOOKUP can look to the left hand side as well. So let's take an example of how XLOOKUP works, and using that, understand how we can use the syntax of the formula. Here I have a few employee names. So we have the employee names here. We need to find the ID of these employees and the sales amount of these employees as well. Where is the data given here for ID and sales? It is given in the next worksheet. So here we have a master worksheet where we have the employee ID, the department of the employee name, and the sales amount for it. All right. Here we have 4 columns. Now we need to use XLOOKUP formula to get the ID for the first employee, which is Gary Miller. The XLOOKUP syntax has 6 arguments. 3 of them are compulsory, so you need to write them. 3 of them are completely optional, so you can choose to write it or you can choose to not write it. That's up to you. All right. So let's start off with our formula by saying is equal to XLOOKUP. The first thing that we have here is lookup value. So what is the lookup value that we are trying to search for? We are trying to search for Gary Miller in our employee column and get the ID for him, right? So my lookup value, the value that I'm trying to search for is Gary Miller, comma, lookup array, which is the lookup column that you are trying to search Gary Miller in. I'm trying to find Gary Miller in the column of employees. So I will go ahead to the next worksheet and select my entire employee column. Let me just shift it here. I'll select this cell, Control Shift down to select the entire data for employees, comma. Next thing that we have is the return array. So what columns answer do you want to return? I want to get the ID for Gary Miller, right? So I will have to select the column of ID. So I will have to go here, select this cell, Control Shift down. Remember, return array is basically the column from which you want to get the answer from. All right. So now we have specified the lookup value, the lookup array, and the return array. I can simply close my bracket, hit enter, and you get the answer of ID 4. Gary Miller is ID 4. Now, if you try to use VLOOKUP here, VLOOKUP would not give you an answer. Why is that the case? Because employee column is here and we are trying to find ID. ID is to the left hand side of employee column. VLOOKUP cannot do a left side search. So VLOOKUP would fail here. And that is exactly why XLOOKUP was introduced in Excel. It is an upgrade over your traditional formula. So whatever the limitations we have in VLOOKUP, this solves it. And we get the answer of ID 4. All right. So first 3 things are extremely simple and are compulsory. Now let's look at the optional metrics. So here we have not found, match mode, and the search mode. All right, guys, all the questions that you all are having, I have a Q&A session towards the end. Save it for later. For now, let's just focus on the concept that we are having here. Do not practice along with me. I will not be answering any questions saying I cannot find this particular formula, blah, blah, blah. We have a Q&A session for that. Have patience. All right. So coming to this, now let's look at the fourth part, which is not found. So if I go back to my formula, before closing the bracket, press comma and move on to the fourth argument. Here we have if not found. This is basically Excel asking you if Gary Miller is not found in your data, I will return you an error. But if you don't want to see an error, then you can specify what you want to see in place of if not found. So for example, if I didn't specify this, bracket closed, I get ID 4. But if I change the name of Gary Miller to Jatan Shah, that is my name, we do not have a match for Jatan Shah in our data. So I will get an error of hashtag NA. All right. Now, if I don't want to see the hashtag NA error, I can simply go here, before closing the bracket, press comma. In the place of if not found, I can add a custom text by saying, let's say in double quotations, no data found. Double quotations closed and bracket closed. Enter. And you see here, we have no data found, right? So instead of that error, you can specify what you want to see in case you do not find a match for your data. That is simply what the if not found does to your formula. All right. Next, we have the match mode. That is something that we are going to look at later. All right, we have a second example for that. So let's save it for later. And now let's look at the search mode, the last part of our formula. All right. So the last part is search mode. When it came to VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, we could search only from the top to the bottom. So we started searching from the top and went to the bottom. If I wanted to search from the bottom to the top, I had no option of doing something like that. But when it came to XLOOKUP, we have that option. So if I go here, before closing my bracket, let's remove the bracket. I will press comma. I move on to the match mode. For now, let's skip the match mode. I'll press comma again, and I will go to the search mode. In the search mode, I have four options. We will be concentrating on the first two. The last two are basically for speed efficiency purpose, and it does the same work as the above two. So that's not really required right now. Let's focus on the first two. The first one is first to last, and the second one is last to first. So we have the option of selecting how XLOOKUP will find our match. If I simply select first to last, Excel will try to find Gary Miller in the lookup values from top and then start going downwards. But if I select the option of last to first, we will go from the bottom, start searching from the bottom, and then go to the top. All right. And this actually makes a difference when you have multiple values. Okay. So for example, if I had two Gary Millers, let's say I have two Gary Miller, one Gary Miller is at the top of my table having the ID of 4. And I have another Gary Miller, which is at the bottom of my table having the ID of 11. If I select the option of first to last, I will have the answer as ID 4. That is the ID for the first Gary Miller. But if I select the option of last to first, I will get the answer of ID 11. That is the last Gary Miller. All right, so let's have a look at this. I will select first to last, bracket closed, and I will just change this back to Gary Miller, and I get the answer as ID 4. Now let's go back to our data, and let's go to the bottom, and here we have ID 4. Okay, so let's change this person's name to Gary Miller just to see what happens. Okay, so here we have Gary Miller. Let's go back to our formula. We still have ID 4 because I have selected first to last. If I change this to last to first, it will start searching from the bottom. And now if I hit enter, instead of getting ID 4, I will get ID 11. All right, so that is the actual difference here. You start from the top or from the bottom, it makes a difference when you have multiple entries for the same lookup value. All right, so this is the last part. Now let's go back to ID 4 and let's change this back to the name that it had, which is Dan Ziegler. All right, come back to this and solve for all the other employees that I have here, right? So the traditional way to do this was to first go to the formula and try to lock all the column ranges that we have and then drag it down. This was the normal way, something that we did till this point. But now comes the benefit of a spilled array. Look at the benefit here. Okay. Instead of locking a few things and then dragging my formula down, what I can do is go to the formula and in the place of lookup value, where we supplied it only a single value of Gary Miller, what I will do is I will expand this range. One sec. I'll just select this from your. I will expand it and in the lookup value, give it all the employees. What this will do is it will for the first cell find the answer for Gary Miller. For the second cell, find the answer for James. Third cell for Richard and so on. So now if I hit enter, see the magic here. Ta-da! You see, here we entered only a single formula, and because we are having the concept of spilled arrays, we are getting the answer for all the different employees. Why? Because we have specified all the employee names in our lookup value. So the first answer will be for Gary, second for James, and so on. So whenever you want to do something like this, simply give it multiple lookup values and it will find the answer for all of them. What is the benefit of this? The benefit I would say is the biggest benefit I would say is that you only need to maintain the first cell's formula. So in the future, if you want to modify it, you don't have to modify all the formulas. Simply modify the first formula and you are good to go, right? So isn't this amazing, guys? If you think this is amazing, type in amazing in the chat. All right. Similarly, I will do the answer for sales as well. I can say is equal to X lookup. My lookup value will again be my employees. So I will select all the different employees now, comma, my lookup value. Notice how I'm selecting all the employees. So my answer will get spilled to all the other cells. My lookup array, again, this time will be the employee column. So I will select that, Control Shift down, comma. This time I want my sales, right? So I will go ahead and select sales. This cell, Control Shift down, bracket closed, enter, and now I get my answer for all the different employees, right? One single formula and getting the answer for all of it. Imagine if you had 1000 rows of your data, only one formula to maintain for everything, right? Isn't this amazing? Right? It is, right? Now, coming to the fifth part of our syntax, which we didn't look at earlier, which is the match mode, right? Let's look at it right now. So when it came to VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP only had two types of match mode, either exact match or approximate match. When it comes to XLOOKUP, you have four different types of match mode. Okay. So when it came to VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, in the approximate match would return the answer for the closest smaller value. But when it comes to XLOOKUP, we have two different options here in approximate match. Now, it might seem a little bit complicated to you. Let me give you an example here. All right. So here we have 0, 100, 200, and we have the commission. So anyone who is making sales between 0 to 100 gets commission of 5%. Anywhere between 100 to 200 will be 10%. And anything that is 200 or above, it will be 20%. All right. So let's find the answer for the sales amount of 150. All right. So here we are having 150. We do not have an exact match of sales of 150. So we will have to use the match mode as approximate match. Let's do that. Is equal to X lookup. My lookup value will be the sales column, sales value. My lookup array will be this, comma, I want to find the commission. So my return array, what I want to return will be my commission. So I'll select that, comma, if not found, let's skip it for now. And in the place of match mode, we have four options. We are going to look at the first three. The fourth one is a wildcard, which I'm not going to cover right now. Right, so we are going to look at the first three. Here we have the first option as exact match. All right. So exact match is basically going to try and find the exact match of 150. If I select that and close my bracket, I will get an error because there is no exact match for 150, right? So instead of selecting exact match, I will have to select either approximate match or the third option, which is also an approximate match. So it can be either exact match or the next smaller item, or exact match or the next larger item. If I select the second option of exact or smaller, close my bracket, hit enter, what Excel will do is it will first try to find the exact match. If it cannot find the exact match, what it will do is it will find the closest smaller item. What is close to 150? You have 100 and 200, which is the closest to 150. But what is the smaller amount? The smaller amount is 100, right? So it will fix on 100 and it will return the commission for 100, that is 10%. All right. But instead, if I select the third option, so if I go here and select the third option of exact match or the larger item, then it will go with 200 and return the answer for 20%. All right. When it came to VLOOKUP, we only had the option of going with the larger item. We could not go with the smaller item. But here we could go with the smaller item, not the larger item, right? But here we have the option of going with the larger item as well. And that is another benefit of XLOOKUP. So as you can see, we have the match mode being multiple things, if not found, search mode, the removal of limitation of the left hand side lookup. We have multiple advantages as compared to the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP when it comes to XLOOKUP. All right. So guys, quickly tell me, is the concept of XLOOKUP clear? I want you all to answer, is the concept of XLOOKUP clear? Type in a yes in the chat if it is. I'm just waiting for you all to type in a yes in the chat and then I'll move on to the next one. All right, I see a lot of yeses coming in. No no's till now. Cool then. Let's move on to the next one. So we have covered XLOOKUP. Now coming to my favorite formula out of all the formulas that we have here, which is the filter formula. Filter formula basically helps you filter your data to some other place and manages to keep it dynamic. The last four words are really important. It manages to keep things dynamic. All right. For example, here we have department, Indian state, and revenue, the same data, right? And here we have the region of Kerala. Okay, so here we have, where do we have? So we have the state of Kerala, right? Now, if I want to only have the data for Kerala from this on this particular cell, one way to do it, the traditional way to do it, would be to go to this particular table, add the filter option. So I will press Ctrl Shift L to add the filters here. Go to Indian states drop down, deselect everything and only select Kerala. Click on OK. Then copy this data. So I'll copy this, Control C, and paste it here, Control V. And this is one way to get the answer only for Kerala. Okay, one sec. Let me just hide the zoom controls. All right. So this is one way to get the answer for Kerala. But the problem with this is that it is not dynamic. It is completely static. So for example, if I change Kerala to Gujarat and hit enter, this answer here will not change to Gujarat. It will still be for Kerala, right? It will still be for Kerala and not Gujarat. So it is not it is not dynamic. It is static. If I want to have it dynamic, so that anytime I update my criteria, even my answer updates, we have a new formula for it, which is the filter formula. All right. So let's change this back to Kerala and remove this for now. And let's focus on the filter formula. I'll clear the filter as well. So now we have our entire data again. And let's start off with our filter formula. Filter formula has three things in its argument, in its syntax, right? Three arguments in its syntax. First, you have the array. Second, you have the include. And third is an optional argument, which is called if empty. All right. So your, let's say, is equal to, I start off by writing filter. Array is basically the entire data that you are having in your end result. I want to filter this entire data based on this criteria. So my array will be my entire data, which is this. Okay. Remember, array is basically the data that you want to filter on. I want to filter this data using this criteria. So I will select the entire data. Comma. Next, you have include, which is basically Excel asking you, listen, bro, what do you want to include in your answer? Here we want to include all the rows where the state is Kerala. So in the include part, I will have to say that the entire column of state has to be equal to Kerala. All right. So here we have the entire column is equal to Kerala. Now we can go ahead and close the bracket. For now, let's skip the if empty part. You hit enter and you get a filtered result of your array. So your entire array is filtered according to the include criteria. So wherever the state is Kerala, we get the answer for that as a result. If I change this to Gujarat, hit enter, notice how my answer is now for Gujarat. So it has filtered my data to some other place, but at the same time, managed to keep things in a dynamic manner, right? So this is the filter formula simplified for you all. Let's go back to Kerala. And now let's look at the third argument here, which is the if empty argument. The if empty argument is extremely similar to the if not found argument of XLOOKUP. What did the if not found argument do of XLOOKUP? It basically helped us determine what we want to see in case we get an error. Here, the concept is the exact same. So, for example, if I go to this particular region and let's say I change this to Assam, we do not have the data for Assam here. So this will give me an error, right? But if I don't want to see this error and instead I want to see my own custom text, I can go to the formula. Before closing the bracket, press comma And in place of if empty, I can type in double quotations, no data found, for example. Okay, and double quotations again, bracket closed, enter. And you see now instead of that error, I see no data found. All right, so this is the exact same as XLOOKUP. Whenever you want to customize your error message, enter that in the if empty part. All right, so this is how you can use it for a text based criteria. Now let's look at the same for a numerical based criteria, number based criteria. So let's say I want to find all the rows where the revenue is greater than, let's say, 35,000. I can go to the cell, again use the filter formula. I can say is equal to filter. My array will be my entire data because that's what I want to filter on. Include part will be that the revenue column, the entire revenue column, should be greater than this particular value. All right, bracket closed, enter, and you get the answer. So now all the places, all the rows where the revenue is greater than 35,000, we get the answer for that. If I change this to, let's say, 40,000, hit enter, the answer will change according to 40,000. If I make it, let's say, 50,000, I will get nothing here because there is no revenue which is above 50,000. All right. So this is how you can use the filter formula for a number-based column or a number-based filter as well. Let's change this back to 40,000 so that we get some answer here. And let's change this to Gujarat for now. Okay, so here we have the answer. Now, let's look at the same thing when it comes to a table. So here we have department. Let's say I want to have a look at all the different rows where the department is, let's go with toys. Let's go with toys. I'll go here, is equal to filter. My array will be my entire table. All right, comma. Include will be what? That the department, that is the entire column of department, should be equal to toys. Okay, comma. If empty, so if I want to say I don't find any data, what do I want instead of the arrow? I can say no department found, for example, bracket closed, enter, and we get the answer. So we have toys and we have the data for that as well. All right. So I think this will make the filter formula pretty clear for you all. So with that being said, let's move on to a little bit of a more advanced filter formula. Till this point, we have looked at how we could enter a single criteria. What if we have multiple criteria to enter? So here we have an example of that. Here we want to look at the rows where the department is toys and the Indian state is Punjab. So we have two criteria which should be true at the same time. This and this. Okay. So how do we enter two criteria in the filter formula? Let's look at that. All right. So here we say is equal to filter. Array again will be our entire data. Nothing is changed there. Comma. When it comes to include, how do we enter two criteria here? All right. We do that by using two rules. Okay. We need to follow two rules here. The first rule is that all the criterias will be wrapped around with a round bracket. All right, so we'll be having the round bracket surrounding all our criterias. All right. So for example, if I want to enter the first criteria, which is department should be equal to toys, I can simply go and have an opening bracket. Because we are writing a criteria, it should be surrounded with a round bracket. So we will have our opening bracket, select the entire column of department, should be is equal to toys, and close our criteria with a round bracket. Now, if I want to add another criteria, which is a combination of and, so this and this, we need to separate both the criterias using a star sign, an asterisk here. All right. So I will have to add an asterisk in the middle, the star sign here, and then enter the second criteria again in round brackets. So here we will again have an opening round bracket. This time state is Punjab, so I will select that data is equal to Punjab, bracket closed, and we are done with our formula. So now again we can close our bracket to close the filter formula, hit enter, and we get the answer for our filtered data where the department is toys and the state is Punjab. All right. Looking at another example here, what if we have this or this? So here we have another example. Here, the Indian state can be either Punjab or Kerala. So instead of having the and here, we are having an or criteria here. Okay, so let's go to our cell here and say is equal to filter. Just a sec, filter. My array will be my entire data. So let's select that. I'll select this data, comma. And now, when we are trying to enter the either or criteria, we need to use the plus sign. Okay, the first rule of round brackets remain the same, but we need to separate it with the plus sign. The star sign is used for and, the plus sign is used for or. Okay, it's basically like a substitute for and or. Okay, and for people who are good with Excel and are thinking, can we use the and the or formula? No, you cannot. Okay, if you try to use the and the or formula here, you will get an error. Okay, this is the special way to type and or in the spilled array formulas. Okay, so don't think about the and or the or formula. Follow what I'm doing here because that's the only way in which you can get the answer. All right, there's a logic behind this which I'm not getting into right now, but just remember it is not possible using the formulas. All right, so coming to the include part, I open the bracket, so opening round bracket. First thing is Punjab, second is Kerala. So I will go to my data here. Select the data here, should be equal to Punjab, as you can see, bracket closed, plus again bracket open, state selected should be equal to this time Kerala. Okay, bracket closed, enter. Just a sec. Bracket closed, enter, and we get the answer, which is either Punjab or Kerala. So what I have done here is referred to Punjab and Kerala from our table itself. You can simply shift the reference to these two cells as well. That is also fine. Okay, and here we get the answer of our filtered data where the state is either Punjab or Kerala. Okay, it's as simple as that. Just summarizing on what we have learned here. First rule is to use round brackets. Second rule is to use either a star sign for and or a plus sign for or. All right. And also, guys, I don't expect you all to remember all these things together within 2 hours. And that's exactly why we have the notes. So if you look at the notes, each and every freaking thing is mentioned in detail. Look at what we have here. Each and everything, the explanation of the formula, the syntax, filter formula, filter syntax, everything is mentioned here. And you will be getting the notes as well, obviously. All right. So no need to worry. You will get the notes, but how to get it towards the end of the session, not right now. Okay. Don't spam the chat asking how to get all of this. All right. So with that being said, quickly tell me in the chat, is the filter formula understood? Type in a yes in the chat if it is understood. All right. Once it is understood, we'll move on to the next one. I'm just waiting for messages to show up in my chat box. If there is one or more condition for department, can we use two signs? Yes, you can. So you can use multiple star signs. You can use multiple plus signs. That is fine. All right, perfect. I see a lot of yeses coming in. So that's great. Let's move on to the next formula now, which is the sort formula. Okay, again, a very, very simple concept. Nothing new here. We looked at the filter, which basically filtered your data and kept it dynamic. The sort formula sorts your data somewhere else and manages to keep it dynamic. Underlying concept is the exact same. Okay, so here again we have the same data of department, state, and revenue. If I want to sort it somewhere else, let's say here, and manage to keep it dynamic, we have two new formulas here. One formula is sort and another formula is sort by. Okay, so both of them do the work of sorting only, but there is a small difference between both. So first we will look at sort and then we'll move on to the sort by formula. Okay, so the sort formula basically sorts your data and keeps it dynamic. So here the question is to sort our data by revenue in descending order. Okay, so we start off by writing is equal to sort. It has multiple things in its syntax. So we have 4 arguments here. Only the first one is compulsory. The rest of the 3 are completely optional. So you can choose to enter it in case you want it, or you can simply close the bracket after the first one. That's completely up to you. Okay. So here we have the array. In the array, we again select the entire data that we want to sort. I want to sort my entire column here, comma. Next is the sort index. Your Excel is basically asking you according to what column do you want to sort your data. You want to sort your data according to revenue. But also notice how this is an optional column, right? So if you don't enter any value here, Excel will take the default as the first column and sort your data according to the first column. But in case you want something else, that is something apart from the first column, you simply type in the column number here. So what is the column number for revenue? This is the first column, second column, and the third column. So here we will be having the column number, that is the sort index of 3. All right, comma. Next we have sort order. Do you want to sort according to that column in ascending order or in descending order? What do you want to do? The default setting here is ascending. So if you don't enter anything here, the default will be ascending. But here we want to do it by descending order, right? So we will need to enter descending here. So I will select this option and we enter that option here. All right. If you wanted to do it by ascending, there was no real requirement to enter this because the default is also ascending. So if you don't enter, that is also fine. But here, because we are having descending, I have specifically entered that. All right, comma. And the last one is by column. Now, by column is basically Excel asking you, is your data vertical or is your data horizontal? Here you have two options, true or false. The default setting is false, which means that your data is vertical. Here we have vertical data, right? But we can also have horizontal data. And whenever you have horizontal data, you need to select the option of true specifically. Now we have an example of horizontal data in this particular worksheet itself at the bottom. One sec, let me just show it to you. Here we have horizontal data, as you can see. So we will get to that option of by column, but not right now, just in a few minutes. All right. So for now, let's close our bracket and we are good to go. So I can hit enter and you get the answer according to revenue in descending order. As you can see, let me just zoom in a bit as well, right? So here you can see revenue is in descending order. And that's how you can use the sort formula. Now, similarly, here we have another question to sort by department in ascending order. So I can say is equal to sort. My array will be my entire data, control shift right, control shift down, comma. My sort index this time will be 1. And because the default option is also 1, you can either skip it or you can enter 1. Really doesn't matter. So let's skip it. Next, we have the sort order. Again, we require only ascending order, and that is the default as well. So we don't even need to enter that. So we can simply enter the array here and it will do the job for us. I can simply close the bracket. Nothing else is required because all of it is at the default setting, right? So I'll select this, hit enter, and we have our data according to department in ascending order. So clothing starts with C at the top, electronics comes after it, and toys at the end. It's as simple as that. All right. Now, coming to the second formula here, which is the sort by formula. What exactly is the difference between sort and sort by, and why do we require sort by formula? Let's understand that. You use the sort formula when you have the entire data to be sorted, but you use the sort by formula when you have the data to be sorted by a column which is not going to be a part of your end result. This might seem a little bit complicated to you, so let me simplify it by giving an example. All right, here we have the exact same data. Now we need to sort by revenue in descending order. So it's similar to the first question at the top, but only show the department and the Indian state. So I want to sort my data according to revenue, but I don't want the revenue to be a part of my answer. And that's where the sort by formula comes in. Okay. Whenever you want to sort your data by something which is not going to be a part of your answer, you use the sort by formula. All right. So here we have the sort by formula. We start off by is equal to sort by. The first thing that we have is array. All right. So I'll select the entire data as my array, comma. by array. So now it is basically asking you by what column do you want to fill, by what column do you want to sort your data. We want to sort our data by revenue. So by array will be the revenue column. So this cell, I'll click on this, Control Shift down and select the entire revenue column, right? Also, one small mistake that I did earlier, instead of selecting the entire data, we only need to select the first two columns, right? Only these two columns. That's something that I missed out on, comma. Now in the by array part, I will select the revenue. All right. So I want to sort these two columns based on the revenue, comma. Sort order. How do you want to sort it? Again, the default setting is ascending. So you can choose ascending or descending. If you want to go with ascending, don't even enter anything here because the default is only ascending. But here we want to do it in descending order. So we need to specifically tell it's descending. Now you can close the bracket, hit enter, and you get the answer in descending order according to revenue, but the revenue is not a part of your answer. To cross check if this is true or not, here we have toys. Let's go with electronics and Punjab. Okay, so if I make the revenue extremely big, something like this, for example, notice how right now I have toys and Delhi at the top. If I hit enter, now I will have electronics and Punjab at the top, right? So this is basically telling me that my formula is working. If the revenue is the highest, it will be at the top and then it will go down in descending order, right? As simple as that. Now let's finally take a look at horizontal data. We looked at vertical data, but it's not always going to be the case that you will like have the data in vertical order. You might have it in horizontal format as well. So let's look at how horizontal format works. Okay. So let's go to this particular cell. Here we have the exact same data. We have department, Indian state, revenue, but in horizontal order. All right. So we have it in horizontal order. Now, if I want to sort this according to revenue in descending order, we need to say is equal to sort. My array will be my entire data from this cell, Control Shift right, Control Shift down, comma, sort index. I want to sort by my third row, that is the revenue. So I will have to enter 3 here, that is the third row, comma, sort order will be descending, comma, by column. The default setting is false. As we discussed, false is vertical data. But here we have horizontal. So if I go with false, let's see what happens if I go with false. I select this, bracket closed, enter. And here I have my answer. But is this answer correct? Let's see that. Here we have 44,000, all right. Then we have 20,000, okay, it's less than 44. Then we have 46,000. What the hell is going on here? Right? That shouldn't be the case. So that tells you that the problem is lying in the by column part. Sorting is happening vertically, and that is not going to be the case here because our data is horizontal. So we need to change this last part and make it true here instead of false. Okay, so select the option of true, bracket closed, enter, and now you have the data. The first one is 46,000, 45,000, 44,000, and the last one is 20,000. So you know that the data is now correctly sorted according to revenue in descending order. So remember, false is the default setting. That is the vertical table. If you have horizontal data, make it true. Okay, all of this is mentioned again in the notes. So if you go to the notes, all of it in detailed manner is mentioned in the notes. All right, so that is not an issue. You can always go back and refer to the notes along with the practice file because you're going to get both of it together as well. All right. So that is one thing that you need to keep in mind. Now, with that being said, is the sort and the sort by formula understood? If it is, I will move on to the next one. So type in a yes if it is understood, and I'll move on to the next one. Okay, I'm just waiting for you all to type in a yes in the chat. All right, perfect. I see a lot of yeses coming in. No no's till now, which is extremely great for so many people attending. So that's great. I think everyone has understood how to use this. So with that being said, let's move on to the next one. And I would say next one is also one of my personal favorite formulas because of how easy it makes the task. It makes one particular thing extremely easy. All right. So here we have the unique formula, which basically helps you extract the unique items from your data. All right. So here we have the unique formula. If I didn't have this formula in traditional Excel, we had methods like Power Query, text to columns, which did the job, but some of them did it in static order. Some of them are complicated. Unique formula makes it extremely simple. Okay, for everyone who is even a newbie to Excel, they will also understand how this will work. All right. So here we have the same data of department. Then we have Indian states and we have the revenue. If I want to extract how many unique departments that I have in my data. We can do so by using the unique formula. So here we have three departments. We have electronics, clothing, and toys. Also, the fourth department that I have added is the snacks department. Okay, so I can go ahead and say is equal to unique. It requires three things in its argument. It has three things in its syntax. The first one is compulsory. The second and the third one is completely optional. So you can choose to enter it in case you require it, or you can simply just skip it. All right. So the first one is array. Array is basically Excel asking you, bro, what do you want to take the unique list out of? What do you want to extract the unique out of? I want to get the unique list out of my departments. So my array will be my entire department. Bracket closed and enter. Let's not even enter these two for now and simply hit enter to get the answer. And here we get the department list of unique items. So we have electronics, clothing, toys, and snacks. Isn't this amazing? Just by using a single formula, it did the work which would take Power Query text to columns to get the answer for, right? And this is completely dynamic. So it's not like it's going to just stay static. Even if we have new data being added in the middle, at the bottom, if it's a table, it will constantly update, right? So all these things are completely possible. Now, let's take a look at the second and the third argument of this syntax. The second one is by column, right? So by column is basically the same concept. If you have horizontal data, by column will be set to true. By default, it is set to false. Okay, so let me just show it to you. Here you have true, here you have false. False is vertical, true is horizontal. Default is false. Okay, so here we have vertical data, so that's fine. Let's skip the argument for now. And the last one that we have, this is really important. I feel this is a complicated thing to, just a second. Someone is saying remove duplicates. Yes, so not text to columns, remove duplicates, my bad. All right. So here we have exactly once. Now this concept is a little bit complicated, so pay attention to this. All right. Here we have a little bit of a complicated process. We have two things, two options. One is true and one is false. Okay. So the default setting here is of false, which reads returns every distinct item. So if I have false here, which is also the default value, I will get the same answer. What exactly does false mean? False basically means that if we have multiple entries of a value, so here we have multiple entries of electronics, it will simply give me one value, one copy out of it. So even if I have 5 electronics, I will get one copy here. Multiple clothing, I will get one copy here. Multiple this, one copy here, and snacks is already one, so one copy here. That is basically how false works. But if you set this to true, so if I change this to true, close the bracket, hit enter, I only get snacks here. So what is the logic behind true? The logic behind true is that whatever is distinct, whatever occurs exactly once, that is have no duplicates, will be displayed as your result. So if you set occurs once as true, it will only return the value which actually occurs once. So if you look at this data, electronics occur multiple times, even clothing, even toys, but it is only snacks which occurs exactly once, right? So if you set it to true, you will get the occurs once value, which is basically having no duplicates. All right. So this is basically the concept behind true and false. Again, everything is mentioned in the notes that you will be getting. All right. So let's change this back to false for now and hit enter. And we have 4 values here. Now, if I want to have the unique count of my data, I can simply say is equal to count A. Count A is a formula to simply count the number of non-empty cells in the selected range. I will select these 4 cells, bracket closed, enter, and it will give me that the unique count is 4. All right. If you don't want to have a reference being made to this data, what you can do is simply go to this cell, copy the unique formula. So I will copy it without the is equal to, go to this cell, and instead of referring to F6 hashtag, notice again we have the hashtag here. So if the data expands, if I have more things here, this count will also expand. So if I have, let's say, clothing ke badle we have ABC. Here we have ABC, and the count will change from 4 to 5. All right, so let me just change it back to the normal answer. All right, so notice that as well. It's a dynamic array that is being referred. Instead of doing something like this, I can even straight up enter the formula here. Okay, so instead of saying is equal to this, I can say is equal to count A and take the count of this unique formula's answer. So whatever the unique formula will give as a result, so if I just press F9, it will show me that the result that the unique formula is giving is electronics, clothing, toys, and snacks. These 4 values will then be supplied to count A, and count A will simply count these values, which is 4. So you hit enter, and you get the answer of 4. It's as simple as that. All right. Let's take a look at another example here. We have department. Here's a list of departments occurring only once. All right. So here we need to use the true option. We need to find the departments which occur exactly once. So I can say is equal to unique. My array will be the department, comma, and here I will have to select the true option, bracket closed, and we get the answer of snacks. All right. If I had something else as well, so for example, if I had ABC, which also occurs once, I will see ABC starting to pop up here. So notice how dynamic it is. It is going to constantly change if your source data changes. All right. Now, coming to the next and the final example for unique. Here we have the unique list of departments and Indian states. Notice how I'm not having the combination, I'm not having only department and then only Indian state. I'm having the combination of department and the Indian state. So I'm having 2 things at the same time. So I want to find the unique combination of the combination of department and Indian states, not just department separately and states separately. So I will have to say is equal to, this time in unique formula, my array will not just be department or just states. It will be both the columns together. And now if I hit enter, I will get the unique list of department and the Indian state. So even if departments are getting repeated multiple times, here we are getting the list, that is the unique list of department and Indian state. So notice how here I have clothing and Punjab. Let me just highlight this. And here also I have clothing and Punjab, right? We have 2 combinations, the same thing. The combination is repeated multiple times. But when it comes to my unique list, clothing and Punjab, where is it? Here, is only repeated once. So we have 2 things that we have used till this particular point. All right. So here we will be combining all the formulas that we are having. And I would say this is personally one of my favorite parts of the entire webinar, because we are going to apply what we have learned so far, right? So here we have department, we have Indian states, and we have the revenue. Now we have 3 questions in front of us, and we need to get the answer for all 3 of them. All right. So here we have revenue by department that we want to find, and we want to sort it in descending order. So first we need to find the revenue by different departments, and that too arranged in a descending order. Before finding the revenue, we need to find the departments that we have. So how do we find the unique list of our departments? By using the unique formula, right? So I will say is equal to unique. My array will be the entire department, right? And I can simply hit enter. And now I get a list of all my unique departments. But notice how my answer should also be in descending order, sorted in descending order. So what I will have to do is I will have to go to this formula of unique, and I will have to sort the answer that unique gives me. So before the unique formula, I will go ahead and write in the sort formula. Just a sec. I'll go here. Let me just zoom in a bit as well. I think we have enough space. So let's zoom in a bit. Now I'll go here. After the equal to and before the unique, I will say sort. In the place of array, I want to sort the answers given by the unique formula. So I will keep the unique formula here and simply go to the end and close my bracket. What I'm doing here is basically telling Excel to sort the data given by my unique formula. I hit enter and now it is sorted in ascending order. So we have clothing at the top, electronics, and then toys. But we want to have it in descending order. So we again need to go back to our formula. Before closing our last bracket, press comma. Sort index is not required because we only have one column, comma. In the sort order, mention descending and now close the bracket. Once you do that, you have toys, electronics, and clothing in descending order. So we have done the first step of our answer, which is sorting our data in descending order and getting the unique list of departments. Now we need to get the answer for revenue. And we use a traditional formula for this, but with a slight twist to it. And the twist comes from our formula, or I would say the spilled array calculation engine. Okay, so this is, I would say one of the most interesting things that is happening in this webinar. All right, I would say this is basically we are combining traditional formulas and the new spill engine, which is, I personally find this is really amazing. Okay, so let's start off with this. Here we need to use a formula called SUMIF. Okay, because we need to sum our answer if the department is toys. Now, if you don't know SUMIF, I have sent you all multiple links, multiple reminders on the group of all the resources of SUMIF, filter, and stuff like that. Please refer to it and then look at the notes. For those who know SUMIF, who have done the homework, who are really going through everything that I am sending on the group, this is the best part for you all. All right. So here I will say is equal to sum if range will be what? My range will be the column where my criteria lies. My criteria is that the department should be toys. So my range will be the department column. So this cell, control shift down, this entire column, comma. What should be the criteria? The criteria should be toys. All right. So wherever we have toys in the department column, comma, I want to sum my revenue. So in the sum range, I will select my revenue. All right. So here we are basically telling Excel to sum my revenue column if the department is toys. Bracket closed, enter, and we get the answer for our department of toys. But guys, didn't we look at how we could use multiple entries in XLOOKUP? Can't we do the exact same when it comes to our SUMIF formula? So instead of giving only one criteria of toys, why not give it all the three criterias? So let me expand this range and bring toys, electronics, and clothing all together. So all three things in a single formula. What this will do is it will give the answer for toys in the first cell, second cell for electronics, third cell for clothing. I hit enter and now notice what happens here. Here we have different answers for different departments using a single formula. So we have entered a single formula and gotten the answer for all the three departments. Isn't this amazing? We used the traditional SUMIF formula and combined it with the logic of our new spilled arrays to get the answer from a single freaking formula. I personally find this really amazing. All right. So similarly, let's take another example here, another question that is in front of us, which is department with revenue less than 30,000. So we need to find departments where the revenue is less than 30,000, right? So we can do that by saying first, what do we need to do? Departments with revenue less than 30,000. So we need to use the filter formula, right? We need to filter our data, filter our departments where the revenue is less than 30,000. So we can say is equal to filter. My array will be what? I only want to have a list of my departments. So I will only select the department column in this case, comma, what do I want to include? What all departments do I want to include? I want to include all the departments where the revenue is less than 30,000. So I will have to select my revenue column and say less than 30,000. Bracket closed, enter, and we are good to go. All right. So here we have a list of departments where the revenue is less than 30,000. Now we are getting multiple entries for clothing. We need to have only a single entry for clothing. So how do we have the unique items from this list? Again, by using the unique formula, as simple as that. So again, I will go to my formula. Before writing the filter, I will write the unique formula. So whatever answer I get from the filter formula, unique formula basically extracts the uniques from it. Okay, so I will select unique formula here. Let me just type unique. My array will be my filter formula. So whatever the filter formula gives will serve as my array, which then will be taken by unique to give me a unique list of items from that answer. So I'll close my bracket, hit enter, and now I have a list of unique departments. It's as simple as that. All right. And finally, coming to the third question that we have here, which is departments where the revenue with the revenue less than 30,000. So it's a part of our second question, but also we have another criteria here. And the criteria here is to exclude the empty cells of department if we have any. So here we have two things as our criteria. So we need to use the filter formula and filter out all the cells where the revenue is less than 30,000 and where the department is empty. All right. So I will say is equal to filter. My array will be my department column, comma, and because we have two criterias here, we need to use round brackets. Remember round brackets? So we need to use round brackets here. I will open one. First one is revenue less than 30,000. So I will select my revenue column less than 30,000. Bracket closed. And we have the and symbol here. So instead of using the plus sign, we need to use the star sign. I will add the star sign here. Again, a round bracket open. And now I need to say that the department should not be equal to empty. And the way to do it is to select the department column. So this department column should not be equal to. By saying not, by I would say writing less than greater than, you basically tell Excel not. Okay, this is basically, I would say, a substitute for not. Okay, so you write less than sign, greater than sign, which is basically not when it is combined together. So I'm saying that the department is not empty. And how do I write empty? Empty is basically two double quotations together. Okay, so you have two double quotations together. So what I'm essentially writing here is that the department should not be empty. Bracket closed, hit enter, and you get the list of all your data here. Let's try if this works or not. So here I have three clothing. Let's go to a clothing. Here we have the revenue less than 30,000, right? So it is coming as my result. What if this cell was blank, which means it is empty? So if I delete this value, notice how that clothing item goes away from my answer. So my formula where we have mentioned that it should not be empty, it's correctly working. Wherever it is empty, it is simply removing that from my answer. Right? So just have a look at the formula once again. It is nothing but the department as my array. Criteria is that the revenue should be less than 30,000 and the department should not be equal to empty. Hit enter and you get the answer. Now again, you can simply go and add the unique formula in case you want to get the unique list of all the departments. So this is basically how you solve the third question. All right. Now, before moving on to the next one, and from here we start off with data visualization. We are done with our formulas. I want you all to type in a yes or a no in the chat if it is clear or not. All right. If it is clear, write in a yes in the chat. I'll just wait for you all to type in the answer. Clear? Perfect. So I'm seeing a lot of yeses coming in, no no's till now. With that being said, we are done with a lot of formulas. Now let's spice things up and make things a little bit more visual, and we start off by understanding something else. We are done with our formulas. Now let's look at data visualization. All right. So here we have a new visual that we have containing two columns. We have the state and we have the sales of shawl. So basically we have customers in different states where we have our state mentioned and the total sales here. So we are basically a shawl selling business, different customers in different states, and the total business per state is mentioned here. If I want to have a visual showing all this data, the first visual that comes into my mind is either a pie chart or I would say a column chart. All right, so something like that could be done here. But both of them contain one type of problem. Let's see what that problem is. If I select my entire data, so if I select Control Shift right, Control Shift down, go to insert and insert a pie chart. Notice how, because we have so many values here, the pie chart is, I would say, not at all useful. It has multiple slices and we cannot understand anything that is going on here. Even if I delete this, even if I delete this and extend the pie chart, it looks like a colorful wheel. How do you expect anyone to understand anything from here? Right? So pie charts are not the best way to understand this geographical level data. Pie charts are a complete no. So let's delete this. And now let's try a column chart. So I will go ahead and insert a column chart. I have a column chart here. I'll insert a column chart from my list. Let's expand this as well. Here we have something which is more understandable. So I can look at this data and I can say, all right, I can understand what's going on. But again, it is not really simple to use, right? Here, if I, let's say, quickly ask you to find where Assam is or where Chhattisgarh is or where Gujarat is, will you be able to do it within a second? Not really. You need to scan through all the labels that we have here, isn't it? So that is also something that is a problem to me. I don't want to go through all these labels here. So that's something that I don't want to do. So even a column chart fails to help me here, right? So I will select this and delete it. I do not want a column chart. I do not want a pie chart. So what else is the option that I have here? The option that I have here, which is introduced in Excel 2019, is the filled map. All right. Now, people who are familiar with Power BI, Tableau, Google Data Studio, you all know how a filled map works. And that is the exact same thing that is introduced in Excel 2019. All right. So let me show an example of that here. I will select my entire data again, go to insert, and after going to insert, I have the option of maps. Click on maps, and there you have the option of a filled map. Select the filled map, and you will have a map of India inserted here. Here is Excel being super smart. So here it goes to the data, understands what type of data you have. It's a geographical data and that too of Indian states. So it won't show you the map of Pakistan or USA. It will show you the map of India and India only. If you had the data for USA, it would show you the map of USA. So it's basically going to read your data and make a map accordingly. It is super smart. And once it does that, you can easily understand how your sales are in different parts of your country. So if I ask you what is the sales for Gujarat, you can simply hover over Gujarat and easily understand that the value is 316521, right? So this is the benefit of a filled map. I would say there are two benefits of a filled map. One, easy navigation because it is visual level data. Because it is a geographical map, it's visually appealing and easy to find. And second, you have this beautiful color scale. You have this amazing color scale which helps you understand the intensity of your sales. So wherever you have a darker color, you have a greater amount of sales. Wherever you have a lighter amount, a lighter shade, you have a less amount of sales, right? So I can easily understand that the maximum sales that have happened is in Jammu and Kashmir, it's in Himachal, it's in this particular, just a sec, it's in Manipur, it's in Maharashtra, all these places. But when it comes to Rajasthan, it's not that much. When it comes to Tamil Nadu, it's not that much, and so on, right? So this is something that you can use as well. You can go ahead and select the option of design, change color and change the color to something else as well. So if I want to have it in orange, I can have it in orange as well. You can go ahead and add a data label to it as well. So if I say data label show and extend, or I would say expand this map, you will see the actual value starting to pop up here as well. Again, it depends on the size of your visual, but you will see all the values come up here as well. All right. Or you have the option of simply hovering over each and every state and you will get the answer for that. All right. You can have any type of data. You can have sales, profit, quantity, blah, blah, blah. And you can have states, you can have countries, you can have continents, you can have cities. Anything is fine as long as it is a geographical level of data. All right. So you can create filled maps based out of any geographical data that you have. All right. So with that being said, quickly type in, guys, is the filled map understood? Type in a yes in the chat if you have understood this. What will we get if we have any industry, that is food data? You can have the food data as well. That's also fine. It's not limited to sales. If the name of the states are incorrectly spelled, don't expect it to understand it. You need to have correct names. Right? Because it's how do you expect it to just understand that? You need to just correct it and then it will work. Otherwise, it won't work. All right, all right. I see a lot of yeses coming in. So I'll just move on to the next one then. I see most of you all are typing yes, no, no still now. All right. So let's move on to the next visual now. And the next visual is a funnel chart. Okay, the funnel chart is also funnel chart is also another visual that is introduced, and I would say this is introduced in Excel 2016. It's not an update of 2019, but I felt this is also one of the new visuals that you all should be knowing about. So I'm including this in today's webinar. All right, let me just drink some water. Okay, so here we have another visual called funnel chart. Funnel chart is basically used to show the process of a particular, or I would say the flow of a particular process. All right. And this is basically used to show the marketing funnel. Okay. So here we have four different, let me just answer a few questions. I think you all are having a few questions. What about non-geographical data? Why would you plot non-geographical data on a map then? It doesn't make sense. What if short form of state is used? Then don't expect it to understand. Guys, think of it as a human, right? So don't think of it as a human. It's a computer. It's a software nevertheless, right? So you cannot expect it to understand USA as USA. Say United States of America. I think USA would work, but don't say India as IND. Say it as India, right? Otherwise it won't understand it. Also, Nitin, please don't spam the chat. I saw your question just now. City is also allowed. Do not spam the chat. It works similar to Tableau. Yes, it works similar to that. What if short form of state is used? Short form is not going to be allowed. All right. Can we highlight more than INR values highlighted in green? Yes, you can. Where to get the correct where to get the correct names? By just, you live in India, you know what the correct names are, right? For two variables simultaneously, sales and profit, you won't get the same. You can only have one metric at a time. You cannot have two things determining the color. It logically also doesn't make sense. How do you determine the color if you have two things giving the same output, right? So with that, just coming back to our funnel chart here. Funnel chart, as I mentioned, it shows you the flow of a particular process. All right. So here we have four different stages of marketing. It is mostly used in a marketing funnel to show a marketing funnel. All right. So here we have four different stages of marketing. We have cold call. We have 120. Okay. So we start off by cold calling people at 120. So we have 120 people whom we have cold called. Then we have meetings. So how many of them converted into a meeting? How many of them agreed for a particular meeting? Out of them, so we have 70 here. Out of them, how many of them were interested in our particular product or service? All right. And out of them, how many of them got converted? That is, how many of them got agreed, I would say, agreed to buy our particular product or our service. All right. So here we have our entire marketing funnel. We start from cold call, move on to meeting, how many of them are interested, and then we have the converted number. Now, if I want to visualize this, if I want to look at this in a particular visual, the best visual for this is a funnel chart. So I can select my data, go to insert. Under the waterfall chart icon, which is this third icon in the first row, I'll click on this. And here we have the option of a funnel chart. I'll select this, and there we go. Let me just reduce the size and bring it here. This is how a funnel chart looks like. As you can see, it gets the name by the way it looks like. It looks like a funnel, and the way we read it is by looking at the size of these bars. It is helpful to understand the leakages happening in the entire flow. So, looking at the size of the bar, I can easily understand where the most amount of people are getting lost. So, you can look at this between these two bars, we do not have much of a difference, right? The most difference is between these two things, that is cold call and meeting. This helps you understand that the most amount of people, most amount of leads that we are losing is between the stage of cold calling and meeting. So maybe we can have better cold calling scripts, or maybe we can have better people making the cold calls, or maybe we can just try some other strategy, right? All these things are possible, but how do we understand that that is the problem? By using a funnel chart. So this is basically how you use a funnel chart. It is used to understand the flow of a particular process and understand the leakages that might be happening in the entire flow. This is basically the concept behind a funnel chart. So guys, is the funnel chart clear? Type in a yes in the chat if it is clear to you all. Can we highlight specific states having higher sales? No, you cannot. What if we want to write the name? You can do that, but that's not a part of Excel, so I'm not explaining it right now. Message me separately for that. Insert will have map options for all Excel, so we have to select from options. If you are having Excel 2019 or above, you will have the map option. Otherwise, you won't have it. All right, I see a lot of yeses coming in. So with that, I'll move on to the next part. And I would say the next part is one of the most interesting parts. Let me just go back to this. All right. It's one of the most interesting things for people who are from a financial background, someone working in accounts, someone who is, I would say, very close to stock markets and stuff like that. All right. So in Excel 2019, we are having two new data types introduced. These two new data types help you do two amazing things. One of the things is importing stock prices in Excel directly with automatic update. All right. So here we have stock name. If I want to find out, let's say, the stock price of four different stocks, let's say it is TCS, HDFC, HDFC Bank, and Wipro. How do I do that? One way to do it is to go to the website of National Stock Exchange, find out the price, and copy paste it here. But who has the time to do something like that, right? I don't have it. I'm pretty sure you also don't have it, and that again will not be updating constantly. You need to manually update it. So what is the way around it? The way around it is to use the new data type that we have in Excel 2019. All right. So here, if I want to find the stock price of the four stocks that I mentioned, the way to do it is to first write in the ticker, the ID of all these stocks. Okay, what do I mean by ID? ID is basically the ID by which it is listed on the stock exchange. So, for example, Tata Consultancy Services is not listed as Tata Consultancy Services. The ID of it is TCS, right? The ID on the National Stock Exchange is TCS. Okay. Same for Wipro. Wipro is Wipro. HDFC is HDFC. And HDFC Bank is HDFC BANK. So remember, you do not type in the entire name of the particular stock. You type in the ticker, the ID by which it is listed. All right. So that is the first step. Second step is to select all the data that you have. So all the four stocks. Go to data. Under data, you have the section of data types. Click on the option of stocks. Click on stocks, wait for it, and there you go. Once Excel recognizes that these are actually the IDs of different stocks, it will automatically expand it. So see the first one, we have Tata Consultancy Services Limited, and in bracket we have NSE TCS. So we are getting the data from the National Stock Exchange. All right, let me expand this. Here we have four different stocks now. Now I can get any data about all these four stocks. The way to do it is by going to the icon at the top right. I go here. It is saying insert data. So I will click on insert data. And here I have multiple options. I can insert the beta of these stocks, the change in absolute terms, in percentage terms, currency, the industry that they belong to, the high price, and so on. If I want to find the closing price, I can go down and let's go with the price here. So I can simply click on price and it will insert let me just expand this. It will insert the price of all these stocks in the next column. If I want to insert the industry, I go to this icon and I can go to the top. I have industry here. I can click on industry and now I have the industry mentioned here. So I have software and banking services for these two and these two. I can insert the beta as well. So I can go to that. I can maybe let's go with high or go with headquarters. So if I select headquarters, where is the headquarter? Look at this amazing piece of information. We have the actual address of all the headquarters of these stocks, right? So here we have all the headquarter data. You can go ahead and select multiple other options. You have 52-week high, you have the currency, description, blah, blah, blah. If you select description, you will have the description of that as well, right? So all these things are completely possible now in Excel 2019 on the click of a button. So guys, if you think this is amazing, type in amazing in the chat. I'm waiting for you all to type in amazing and then I'll show you one more amazing trick here. Aren't these features of Power BI? No, they are not. This is not, data type is not a Power BI function. If a stock is listed on BSE and NSE, then which price will it fetch? Price of NSE. Is the table dynamic? Yes. You simply go to the refresh button. So under data, you have refresh. Refresh it, automatically it will update. All right. Isn't this amazing? Can we get price on a specific date? This will help in IT data. No. We do not get for specific date. Sorry for that. All right, guys, I see a lot of amazing coming up in the chat. So with that, let's move on to another data type. Price will update constantly. Yes, every minute it will update when the market is active. So between 9:15 to 3:30, every single freaking minute it will update. All right. If the workbook is open, obviously, it dynamically changes the price. Yes, it does. Live price, yes. Can we get from BSE as well? No, you cannot. Amazing, great. Can we have different price or no, you cannot. How is the price updated? It will automatically update. That you don't need to click on refresh if you are having the live market going on. Right? Can we use it for mutual fund? You can do it for ETF. Okay, so if you have the ETF listed, then only you can have it for mutual fund. You cannot do it for this thing, for anything else. What about Nasdaq and the stock exchange? All of it is available. US, so definitely it's Microsoft. So US will be the first thing. Then comes India, right? So US also, all the stocks in US, Tesla, Microsoft, Apple, APPL, all these things available. All right, perfect. We can use Google Finance and you can use Google Finance. There are multiple things, but can you do it in Excel? Not really until now, right? Google Finance, you can do it, but only in Google Sheets. All right, perfect. Chalo, let's move on to the next one now. The next one is another data type that we're going to look at, which is the geographical data type. All right. So here, if I have, let's say, if I type in Maharashtra, let's go with Maharashtra. So I stay in Maharashtra. Let's go with Maharashtra. I'll select this. And now if I want the data for Maharashtra, the way to do it is to go to geography. At the top next to stocks, we have geography. So click on geography. And now this is converted into a geographical data type. So notice how again here we have some icon which wasn't there earlier. And we again have this option of insert data. So you can go ahead, click on this, and there are multiple things that you can insert for Maharashtra. So you can go ahead and find out who is the leader of Maharashtra. So Uddhav Thackeray is the chief minister of Maharashtra. Then we can find out which country does Maharashtra belong to. It belongs to India. Then we can find out the area of it. The area is this. Go ahead and select, let's say, what is the largest city of Maharashtra, right? Let's select largest city and you will see Mumbai. Population of Maharashtra is something around, I think, 1141, so 11 crores, right? You can go ahead and find the time zone, you can find the area, you can find the abbreviation, all these things. So abbreviation is IN-MH. All these things are possible now in Excel 2019. And similarly, you can do it for Mumbai as well. So if I say Mumbai, go ahead and type in a city. I can click on geography here, click on the data here, and I can again go with, let's say, who is the leader of Mumbai. You see, Kishori Pednekar is the mayor of Mumbai. You can go ahead with, let's say, the longitude of Mumbai. You see, 72.8258, right? You can go ahead and select, let's say, population. So you can select the population of that and you see the population answer for that as well. It's as simple as that. And just one small thing that I want to mention here, which is that this is basically, even though it's 2018 update, it's still relatively new. It's still in development phase. And that's exactly why I call it a new, or I would say a recent update, because not everything is completely finished. It's still in the development phase. So here, if I, let's say, type in California, all right, and if I make this geography, and now if I go to insert data, look at the amount of things that I have here. Look at the amount of things. In Maharashtra, we didn't even have one third of this. So it really depends on the location, because it's a USA based geographical area. It will have more amount of data. So I would say it is still in development phase. Maharashtra would maybe in the future have more data, but for now it is not really developed as such, right? So when it comes to USA based stocks or USA based companies or USA based geographical areas, you have much more detail as compared to anything else. Like if I search for something from Ghana, if I say, for example, Ghana, turn it to geography. Here, if I go, you see we have these many options, which is far less as compared to California, right? So all these things are different. If you search for a city of Ghana, you might be having only 3 options or 4 options. So it is completely dependent on what type of thing you are searching for. All right. So with that being said, is this concept of geographical data type clear? Type in a yes in the chat if it is clear, and I'll move on to the next part then. This is the revolutionary for data collection. This is revolutionary. Yes, it is. From where the data is coming from Microsoft. So I think it's coming from the Microsoft servers. So your Bing Maps, all these things. Is it available for future and options? No, it is not. Historical data is not possible. Okay, so the delay will be of, I would say, roughly 5 minutes. I think it's roughly 5 minutes. Just test it out in the market when the market is live. All right. These two, stock and geo, are going to be extremely helpful, definitely. Is data authenticated? Yes, Malab, this is coming from Bing. So I'm pretty sure it's whatever the internet is giving you, it's the same as your. So if the internet is right, the data is right. Can we know who will be our next PM? I wish. I wish. Will XLOOKUP be possible to use in Excel 19 or before 365 versions? Excel 19 will be required, and that to a commercial license, not a student version. Okay. All right. Perfect. Excel is becoming Google now. Definitely, it is. Can we? Multiple things are possible in Excel apart from this as well. Internet connection is required, yes. But logins mandatory to get all this data. Login is mandatory, yes. Unless and until you have Excel 19 standard. I am coming to that. Give me a few minutes. I will get to that. Okay. But for now, let's move on to the next topic. I think I have answered most of the questions till this point. Let's move on to the next point now. And for that, I will go back to my notes here. As you can see, again, all the things are mentioned in the notes. You have nothing to worry about. If you think the content is getting heavy, you want a break, don't worry. Everything is mentioned here. So if you miss out on something, everything is there in the notes. If you think you are going to forget something, everything is there in the notes. All right. With that being said, I want to discuss something called as old Excel versus new Excel. All right. So here, understand one thing, that you're not going to only use Excel for your own purpose, right? You're going to work in an environment of other humans. You're going to work in an office where you might be sharing your Excel files with someone else, maybe your colleague, maybe your boss, manager, your someone who is under you, blah, 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 right? So all these things are going to happen. So what would happen if you are using Excel 2019 and you share the file with someone who is not using Excel 2019, maybe an earlier version? What would happen in that particular case? In that case, I am having a simple diagram to tell you all what would happen. For example, it's the both connection. So here we have first a person using 16 or lower versions sending a file to you. So if someone finds or someone gives you a file from 16 or lower version and you are using Excel 2019, then there will be no major change. Okay. And I'm not going to say there will be no change. There will be small changes here and there, but nothing major which will actually affect your work. That is not going to be the case. All right. So there is no tension there. If you are having 19, you are the superior person. You have everything sorted. Nothing is going to harm your Excel or your Excel files. All right. You are at the top of the pyramid. But when it comes to the other way around, so if you are using 19, make a file and share it with someone who is using Excel 16. Then the old Excel won't support new formulas and will show you an error. All right. So if you are using new formulas, it won't be displayed in the old Excel. But anything that is not new, anything that is old, so if you use your traditional formulas of, let's say, sum, count, if, and all these things, they will work completely fine. But anything that is new in 19, it will not be displayed in Excel 16 or older versions. All right. So that is just one thing that you need to keep in mind. And that's actually about it when it comes to the compatibility between 16 and lower versions and Excel 2019. All right. So with that being said, I want to quickly ask you all guys, what do you think? Is Excel 2019 amazing? Till this point, how do you think Excel is doing? Is Excel amazing? Is 19 something that you will be buying? What do you think? Is it amazing? Type in amazing in the chat if you think it's amazing. Waiting for your answer in the chat. All right, all right. I see a lot of amazing coming up in the chat. So I think most of you all are finding Excel 2019 absolutely amazing. But let me spoil the party for you and let me tell you a limitation of Excel 2019. And I would say Excel in general, not just 19. Excel 2019 and Excel, that is any version of Excel, cannot be used to create interactive dashboards easily. You cannot use Excel to create interactive dashboards easily. And because the skill of creating dashboards is one of the most in demand skills in today's corporate industry, be it marketing, finance, business, HR, it's really a big limitation. But wait a second, what exactly is a dashboard? So let me show you an example of a dashboard. Here I have a dashboard for a business. This is basically a dashboard. A dashboard is a single screen system which helps you look at the overview of your data and become more efficient. You can understand your potential revenue, understand where leakages are happening in your expenses, and basically just become more efficient with the data that you are having. You can take or get key insights out of your historical data using a dashboard. It becomes really easy to understand and analyze your data using a dashboard. For example, here I have a dashboard and here I have the different regions, central, south, and north. If I click on the central region, notice how my sales is 2.3 million. If I click on the central region here, for example, if I click here, or let's say I click on the region of, let's go with north, wait for it. And now my data of sales is completely changed. It is only showing me for this particular region. So you can slice and dice your data using a dashboard. But something like this to make in Excel is completely, I would say, difficult and almost impossible. Let me give you an example of why that is the case. So here I have similar data. We have different regions, we have sales, and we have profit. Here again, we have two different charts. If I click on, let's say, the South region, what do you think will happen to the profit column? If I click on South, nothing happens to profit because there is no connection between these two things. Nothing is possible by having these two charts separately. So if you want to slice and dice your data using visuals, you need to have a full-fledged dashboard which can help you select different things. For example, if I select, let's say, United Kingdom, I click on this, wait for it, and my sales will show me data for United Kingdom only. You can see 420K. So this is continuously updating according to your selection. All of this is really important when it comes to a dashboard, and Excel fails at that job because it cannot have interactivity between two different charts. And that is exactly why I'm having a 5-day workshop to help you all create beautiful and effective dashboards to analyze your data. All right, so let me quickly tell you about the workshop that I'm having, and then we'll move on to the question and answer round, after which I'll be giving you all the certificates, the resources, and the notes. All right. So let me quickly tell you all about the workshop that I'm coming up with. It's basically a creating effective dashboards 5-day workshop starting tomorrow. You will be able to create business dashboards, marketing dashboards, financial dashboards, HR dashboards, and many more. You'll be able to create dashboards for any kind of data that you are having. This is basically going to start from tomorrow. It is completely available to everyone who is working in like an office. And if you think you have your office limitations of timings, we have two things here. We have video modules and live sessions. Video modules you can see any time of the day. So even if you are working, this is not an issue. And live sessions will happen on Sunday, which is a non-office day. So that is completely not an issue as well. So if you always wanted to create how to create effective dashboards, this is actually the workshop for you. And once you enroll for this 5-day workshop, you do not just get access to learn how to create dashboards. Along with that, you get multiple other benefits. One of them is the entire recorded module for this entire webinar. And this is different from your recording. This is not the recording of today's session. I have created separate pre-recorded modules explaining each and every concept in depth, having multiple examples. You will be getting access to all these modules for free.